Welcome to our Middle East briefing show. Today, we're diving into the fast-moving world of technology, politics, and culture. First up, Pony.ai is turbocharging its plans to produce thousands of driverless taxis, aiming to dominate both Chinese cities and international markets, with a goal of hitting 1,000 robotaxis by the end of this year. This move is part of China's booming robotaxi industry, which could be worth a staggering $40 billion annually. Next, in the political arena, 20 U.S. states have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration over its attempt to gather personal data from SNAP recipients. Critics fear this could lead to misuse for immigration enforcement, especially targeting undocumented immigrants, while the government insists it's all about fighting fraud. The battle over privacy and policy continues to heat up. Finally, Macau is turning heads with its third Art Macau Festival, showcasing everything from Picasso's masterpieces to AI art and exquisite porcelain. The event highlights Macau's rich cultural tapestry and attracts art lovers with free exhibitions until late October. It's a vibrant celebration of creativity blending tradition and innovation. Please continue to watch for the full stories. South China Morning Post reports that Pony.ai, a trailblazing Chinese autonomous vehicle company, is accelerating its mass production of robotaxis, aiming to make driverless cabs more accessible and affordable both domestically and internationally. As the only firm authorized to operate robotaxi services in China's four most developed cities, Pony.ai is forging strategic partnerships with car manufacturers GAC, BAIC, and Toyota, targeting a fleet of 1,000 robotaxis by year's end. Recently, they received a permit to operate in Shanghai's Pudong New area, marking a significant milestone that allows them to charge fares and expand their service coverage. The company is also expanding its operational hours in Beijing, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen, and exploring new revenue streams such as in-car infotainment and autonomous driving systems for global markets including Hong Kong, South Korea, the Middle East, and Europe. Industry analysts see Pony.ai as part of China's emerging answer to the US's Waymo, with the potential for China's robotaxi market to reach $40 billion annually, driven by digital infrastructure and public acceptance despite current financial losses. Meanwhile, Associated Press details a significant legal challenge against the Trump administration's effort to collect personal data from SNAP recipients, which could be exploited for immigration enforcement. A coalition of 20 state attorneys general has filed a lawsuit to block the Department of Agriculture's demand for private information of over 42 million Americans enrolled in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, citing privacy concerns and potential misuse. The USDA's justification, that the data will combat fraud, has been met with skepticism, especially given the administration's history of using similar data for deportation purposes. The lawsuit emphasizes the risk of violating privacy laws, as recipients' immigration status, addresses, and birth dates are considered sensitive information. This move is part of a broader pattern where the administration has sought to leverage federal data for immigration enforcement, raising alarms among advocates who fear that the collection of such data could undermine the rights and privacy of vulnerable populations, even though non-citizens without legal status are ineligible for SNAP benefits. South China Morning Post also covers Macau's vibrant art scene as it hosts the third edition of Art Macau, transforming the city into a cultural hub for 3 months. The main event, the Macau International Art Biennale titled Hey, What Brings You Here?, curated by Feng Boi, explores themes of identity, memory, and global interconnectedness through 80 works by 46 artists from 13 countries. Visitors pass through a mirrored, immersive space that prompts self-reflection and questions about origins and future. The exhibition features provocative pieces like Zhang Pei's At Sea, depicting a man floating in water, and Kim Suja's A Needle Woman, emphasizing stillness amidst movement. Supporting the event are high-profile exhibitions at casino resorts, notably the Picasso, Beauty and Drama, at Grand Lisboa Palace, which traces the master's life through personal artifacts and iconic works, and Wynn Resort's innovative porcelain showcase blending ancient craftsmanship with modern technology. These cultural displays underscore Macau's role as a crossroads of tradition and innovation, inviting global audiences to reflect on art's power to transcend time and borders. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation reports on a pioneering educational initiative aimed at inspiring underprivileged and refugee students in Western Sydney to pursue careers in STEM through robotics and coding. Ahmad El-Bashidi, a Gaza refugee who resettled in Australia, shared how participating in a week-long crash course in robotics ignited his passion for engineering and provided him with a clear career path. The program, funded by a government grant, equips students with tablets and robots, followed by a 9-month period of surveys and tasks to assess sustained interest. Advocates emphasize that early exposure to technology can bridge the gap in STEM education, which has historically been slow to progress nationally, with only about half of students meeting science proficiency standards. The hope is that programs like this can inspire a new generation of innovators, with students like Isabella Succari and Aaliyah Chili envisioning careers in biomedical engineering and child development, respectively. The Associated Press highlights Nevada's upcoming gubernatorial race, which promises to be a fiercely contested battleground in the 2024 election cycle. Democratic Attorney General Aaron Ford announced his challenge to Republican Governor Joe Lombardo, setting the stage for a close race in a state that has historically been divided politically. Ford's platform focuses on addressing economic hardships, such as housing affordability and healthcare costs, aiming to appeal to voters struggling under the current economic conditions. Meanwhile, Lombardo, leveraging his incumbency and moderate reputation, has taken controversial stances like vetoing a voter ID bill, signaling a nuanced political landscape. With Nevada's electorate split and national tensions high, the race is seen as pivotal, especially as it could mark a historic milestone with Ford potentially becoming the state's first black governor, reflecting broader themes of racial progress and political competition. The Independent discusses the Trump administration's controversial policies promoting religious expression within the federal workforce, emphasizing a shift toward endorsing faith-based activities at work. A newly issued memo from the Office of Personnel Management permits federal employees to openly discuss and promote their religion, including sharing religious artifacts, inviting colleagues to religious events, and engaging in prayer during work hours. This move aligns with President Trump's broader agenda of emphasizing religious liberty and combating perceived anti-Christian bias, exemplified by his creation of a task force aimed at protecting Christian interests and pardoning anti-abortion activists involved in violent protests. Critics argue that such policies blur the lines between religion and government, raising concerns about the potential for workplace proselytization and discrimination, especially amid ongoing debates about religious freedom, secularism, and the separation of church and state in America. The Independent reports that President Donald Trump has achieved significant diplomatic milestones, including trade agreements with the European Union, Japan, and the United Kingdom, which were heralded as historic. However, these deals have not sparked the euphoria anticipated on Wall Street, with the stock market showing minimal movement and experts warning that American consumers will bear the brunt of increased costs. Despite Trump's claims of revitalizing American manufacturing through tariffs, critics highlight that tariffs on steel and auto parts could lead to higher prices for consumers, and the trustworthiness of U.S. commitments remains questionable, especially as other nations may retaliate or bypass American products altogether. The economic landscape appears uncertain, with upcoming GDP reports, Federal Reserve interest rate decisions, and jobs data poised to reveal whether the trade deals will translate into tangible economic benefits or further instability. Yahoo US details a landmark legal victory for climate justice as the International Court of Justice, ICJ, in The Hague issued a unanimous ruling that holding governments accountable for failing to protect vulnerable populations from climate change could breach international law. This historic decision, driven by a grassroots campaign initiated by Pacific Island students and supported by global youth activists, affirms that climate change is a violation of fundamental human rights, cultures, and ecosystems. The ruling, though non-binding, offers hope for small island nations and developing countries suffering disproportionate impacts despite being least responsible for emissions. It signals a potential legal pathway for nations to seek damages and enforce climate commitments, though enforcement remains uncertain due to geopolitical realities and the court's limited authority. Activists see this as a crucial step forward in holding powerful polluters accountable and advancing climate justice on the international stage. South China Morning Post emphasizes the significance of the ICJ's ruling as a catalyst for climate justice, especially for vulnerable nations and future generations. The decision validates decades of activism by young people and small island communities who argue that climate change infringes on their rights and threatens their very existence. It underscores the urgent need for developed nations to fulfill their commitments and pay reparations for environmental damage, with the possibility of legal action becoming a more tangible avenue for accountability. While the ruling offers hope, it also exposes the limitations of international law, as enforcement depends heavily on geopolitical will, exemplified by the United States' planned withdrawal from the Paris Agreement. The court's verdict marks a historic moment, yet the real challenge lies ahead in translating legal victories into concrete action and meaningful climate mitigation efforts worldwide. CNN reports that U.S. President Donald Trump, demonstrating a growing impatience with the Kremlin, has unexpectedly shortened his self-imposed 50-day deadline for Russia to reach a peace deal with Ukraine to just about 10 or 12 days, signaling a more critical stance towards Vladimir Putin's government. Trump expressed frustration over the lack of progress, despite previous threats of imposing high tariffs and sanctions, which he now seems to consider less impactful given Russia's resilience and the limited economic leverage of such measures, especially since Russia is heavily sanctioned already. His threats to impose tariffs on Russian oil buyers like India, China, Turkey, and several European nations are viewed skeptically in Moscow, as they would likely cause global market shocks without compelling the Kremlin to change course. Russian officials, including Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, have dismissed Trump's ultimatums as futile, with veteran analysts like Sergei Markov sarcastically advising Trump to "go away" and "go to hell," reflecting Russia's unwavering stance to achieve its maximalist objectives in Ukraine regardless of Western threats. This escalation underscores the deepening geopolitical stalemate, with Moscow seemingly unshaken by Western sanctions or threats, and Trump's shifting rhetoric hinting at a more confrontational approach that may ultimately prove ineffective against Russia's steadfast war aims. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.
Morning coffee, fresh off the press. Reading headlines, feeling blessed. World keeps turning, stories unfold. Every moment, news gets told. Flipping channels, clicking tabs. Feeding my mind's hunger grabs. Facts and figures, images bright. News keeps rolling day and night. Headlines and headlines, can't get enough. Learning about the world, yeah, it's my stuff. Headlines and headlines, stories unfold. Knowledge is power, truth to behold. Politics, science, sports, and art. Every story plays its part. Global voices, voices near. Every headline loud and clear. Need the latest, got to know. Never stopping, always go. Scrolling, swiping, reading on. Daylight breaks in the dark. Headlines and headlines, can't get enough. Learning about the world, yeah, it's my stuff. Headlines and headlines, stories unfold. Knowledge is power, truth to behold. Need the latest, got to know. Never stopping, always go. Scrolling, swiping, reading on. Daylight breaks in the dark. Headlines and headlines, can't get